This is Support is Sexy, episode 26, with IntenSati creator Patricia Moreno. Welcome to the Support is Sexy podcast. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, producer, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I talk to women entrepreneurs who share their journeys and the true stories of their wins and their lessons, and give you insight and inspiration to take your business and your life to the next level. Here we go. I will find a way. 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 This is one of the many mantras that I received from Patricia Moreno in this interview that I know you're going to love. Full of inspiration, full of motivation. Patricia is the creator of the IntenSati workout, and the workout, in short, combines affirmations with action, and those action being physical movements, exercises, workouts. You not only sweat, but you get physically fit and spiritually fit. So in this episode, Patricia talks about not only the workout, but also her own journey of being a child who struggled with weight all throughout her childhood, to having an eating disorder, to how she came to the point where she wanted to form something that really empowered people, and the journey of getting there, which I thought was so powerful when you hear it. So some of the things you'll learn in this episode is your determination to find the solution opens you up to possibility. Also, how changing your mindset and how you identify yourself helps you change your life. The power of I am. Why you don't have to have a solution, you just have to be determined to find it. Again, I will find a way. Patricia also says, be thirsty. Be all about finding whatever that thing is that's going to move you to the next level in what you're trying to create. And lastly, she says, take try out of your vocabulary. So I know you're going to love this episode. I'm so moved by it. I listened to it a few times before even putting it out there. So you're going to love it. Without further ado, Patricia Moreno. So Patricia, thank you so much for joining us on an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I have to ask you the first question I ask everyone. When did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
I think I did when I decided that what I was doing, I was teaching classes. I've always been in the fitness industry, and I was teaching for other people and just kind of going along with the crowd. And I decided that there was something more that I could bring out, that I could bring forth. And I wanted to create a method of training that was not just going to be about reducing ourselves to a bikini body or trying to get slim, but I wanted to create something, a way that people could use movement and exercise as an empowering lifestyle. And so I created the IntenSati method and developed a teacher training course for that program. And I think that was really the first time where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starting a business. This is different than just, teaching for someone or being hired to go here and there to present in Italy or Mexico, but I'm developing a business. And I think that passion for bringing forth something that wasn't already out there was what gave me the guts, really, to be able to do that.
Now, when you grew up with 10 siblings, right?
Yes, I did.
Nice big family, and you were number 9 out of 11?
Very good. Yes, number 9.
8 girls and 3 boys, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And what was Patricia like as a child?
I always wanted to do something important. I think I knew that from a really young age, but I was always overweight, and that was always a big point of conversation in my home, right? How our weight and how we looked. And from a very early age, I really got that mattered, that determined my worth. That was my lesson early on. And so I was very kind of withdrawn and shy because I didn't feel like I fit. And I'm talking like 3rd grade, that I didn't fit what I was, quote unquote, supposed to fit into, that mold, that model. And so it wasn't until I was about to start college that I really started to find a power inside of me after I started working out and training and exercising a lot, that I started to kind of find my voice and my ability to express myself. But I expressed myself through movement and still didn't have really the skill to express myself with words, to communicate my feelings or ask for things that I needed or say no to things. So I would say I was very withdrawn and kind of shy unless I was in front of a big group and teaching to an audience, then I would
Then
shine.
you're right. Then the other side of you would come out. Now,
Hmm.
your family owned Mexican restaurants, is that right?
Yeah, my
So
family owned Mexican restaurants. My dad was a lawyer, and my mom ran his practice as well. So they were very much entrepreneurs themselves.
So was food always around? I would imagine that there was always food around. Did that make it harder to resist growing up and becoming overweight, having food there, or was it not part of your?
It was a big part. We grew up Mexican, and so there was always the Mexican food and always a lot of food. But my dad we really grew up in a very poor household. So for him, being able to like buy everything and give us everything, and a lot of that revolved around food.
Mm,
So I remember every day he would just come home and he would honk the horn, and we would run downstairs to bring the bags and bags of groceries home, or he would leave first thing in the morning to go to the bakery and bring home fresh donuts and cakes and things to start our day. And for him, that was like success, right?
right.
Being able to go and do these things. And then on the other hand, my mom was someone who had her own issues with food, right? She didn't know how to create the lifestyle that would support what she really wanted. So she did what most people even today do, which is they diet and then they binge, or they're off the diet, then they're on the diet. But there's not this middle ground of consistency that helps them move into that lifestyle that they want. And so that was really the big issue in my house.
Was it difficult for you and all of your siblings, or mainly with you? Because I know I read that your weight topped 212 pounds at one point when you were younger.
Yeah, no, most everybody except for the guys. There's three boys in our family. They don't really struggle with it
Right.
as well as a lot of men don't. But
Right.
um, there's, my family struggles with it. Not
Hmm.
everybody, but it's a challenge in our house, and certainly wasn't the only one.
I think for me too, being African American and a lot of things revolving around food and soul food, and it's difficult sometimes for your family who's been doing things for generations really to all of a sudden say, "No, don't put butter in that," or let's use this instead of that. So I
Mhm.
know just culturally too, there's a big influence there around food.
Yeah, because food is that opportunity to celebrate, to make the favorite things of everybody on those days, and to let it all go out the window. And, our house was filled with See's candy and, just all of those things that make you feel happy, right? And connected. And so there was always this thing of like, well, I'm supposed to not eat that, but that yet is the only thing that's here.
Right.
So it was very confusing.
So who were some of your greatest influences growing up?
Um, Obviously, my parents were a great influence. My dad was somebody who really got me on this path of spirituality and the power of the mind. He took me to what was called Silva Mind Control, the Silva Method. And it's a meditation that puts you in this alpha state where you can influence yourself to do things that you can't consciously program yourself to do. And so I was probably 13 when I went there and learned that first thing of getting myself what they call to level, and that level of where you can influence yourself to change. And then there was a time right around that time where I was really sick and in the hospital. And I had a bone marrow infection, and that bone marrow infection was moving in towards my heart, and they couldn't stop that infection. And the doctors were getting very nervous about it. So they were going to do an exploratory surgery the following day with the possibility of amputating my arm, which I didn't know at the time, but afterwards my parents told me. And the night before the surgery, my dad did a meditation with me, and he had me go to level and he had me imagine this army of men marching into my arm and digging out all the infection and then filling up their pails and marching the pails out and then coming back in and filling the hole back up and patching it up and cleaning it up and then marching out. And the next day the infection was gone. So
Wow.
that was amazing. I didn't remember it till I was creating IntenSati, but it was a major influence because he was always someone that said, we're capable of so much more than we ever dream we are capable of. And you can do anything and you can find that way to do anything that's really important to you. So he was a big influence in my life, especially me taking this journey. And my mom was too, because for the other reasons, right? She had a tough life and she was struggling and stressed. You're raising 11 kids, running 2 businesses. Like you can imagine the amount of stress. And so she was, but always I always saw her as negative, right? As like always talking about what's wrong and always complaining. And I think that was a major influence in me in creating the IntenSati method because I wanted to help her. I wanted to find a way to help her be more positive and happier in her life. And I wasn't able to really do that. But I think that was a major influencing factor in me wanting to create a practice and a method for people to be able to turn their lives around.
I love that. So tell us about the IntenSati method and what it is and how it's different from other fitness programs or things out there, because it's so much more than that. It's really about physical and the mind, but I'd love to hear it from you.
Yeah. So as you know, my background was there was always fighting with my weight. And even as I got into high school, I started teaching aerobics classes and fell in love with exercise and fell in love with how great I felt and how I could move and express myself in new ways. And I lost a lot of weight and started to feel like who I wanted to be. But again, my weight fluctuated and fluctuated because I didn't know how to develop sustainable habits, ways of eating that were going to lead me to this long-term success. So this up and down roller coaster with my weight, although it was a shorter range and it was closer to the range that I wanted, it was still like 30 pounds up and down. And I'm 5'10", right? So you're starting from 212, getting down to like 160, going down to 140, going back to 170. Like this range of motion was excessive for me. I was unhappy about it. And I was binging, I was purging, I was using drugs. My mantra was thin at any cost. And I didn't really care about health because my worth was wrapped up in my weight. But then I was doing a TV show, and then I was doing a regular morning TV show. And of course, I got super thin and ripped to do the show. But then, as usual, my weight started to rise up again. And the producer pulled me in to his office and was just like, he was very nice about it. He wasn't being mean about it, but he was asking me like, what's going on? And I just knew at that point, like, it's over. Like, the gig is up. I just did this on national TV. I'm not fooling anybody. Here I am, like, on magazine covers doing DVDs. I'm sponsored by Nike. I'm sponsored by, big name companies. I'm supposedly the picture of health and well-being. I'm shouting about the importance of diet and exercise, and I'm losing at this, right? I'm failing at this. I felt like a fraud. I felt like ashamed. But then it was really that moment where it was like, it's not a secret anymore, right?
Right.
The world knows
It's almost
this.
a relief, right?
It's almost a relief, but it opened me up to the idea that, wow, here I am, a professional. I'm a professional. I've studied this. I am talking about the benefits of diet and exercise. This is my lifestyle, and I'm losing. I'm losing this game. There must be millions of people losing at this game. This is my life. This is what I've devoted myself to. I'm a smart woman. I'm a strong woman. I've got a lot of willpower. I've got a lot of strength. I'm determined. I consider myself to be powerful. Right? It must not be that there's something wrong with me. It must be something that I don't know. There's got to be something that I don't know. And if I can find that piece, that missing piece of the puzzle, because of course diet and exercise is a part of it. We cannot not, of course it is. But what's missing? What's here that's not being talked about, that's not being taught, that's not being sold as part of this puzzle of creating lasting change? There's billions of people in the weight loss industry that are failing. Like, people start a new diet up to 4 times a year, and very, very, very few, like 1%, whatever the percentage is, it's low. I don't know the exact number, are able to lose weight and maintain it. I'm like, that's just not right. How could that be?
Right.
All these people are like, just lack the willpower. That's just does not make sense to me. And I'm going to be the one to find the answer. I will find that answer, and I'm going to find that answer, and I'm bringing forth whatever that is. I have no idea what it is. And I went on a search to find it. I started reading books. I started traveling around the world, meeting with gurus and trainers and people who were in the personal development field and life coaches. And I wanted to find what that missing piece was. And one of the things that was a defining moment for me was I was literally in Fiji listening to a talk from Deepak Chopra. And he was talking about our need to be consistent with our identity, that whatever our identity is, no matter what we change, who we believe we are, we will always live consistent with that. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in the shower, and I was kind of thinking about that, and I was like, oh my God. It was like this whole new awareness came in, and I thought, well, if every time I go to the gym, I go to the gym because I'm fat, if every time I work out because I'm fat, I have to go work out, I'm fat, I have to diet, I'm fat, I need to restrain and restrict, I'm fat, I need more willpower. If my identity is I am fat, there's just no way, how can I be thin? How can I be fit? If I'm fat, I lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, I am for a moment thin. I'm a thin fat person. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm not just now at this new level of identity.
Right, because you still identify yourself as fat.
I still identify myself as fat, that I've able to like restrict long enough. But there's part of me that always knew. I remember going for a competition. I was doing an aerobics competition. It was a national competition. I'd gotten down to 140, which was ripped for me. I mean, ripped. You could see my abs. I was wearing short shorts. I was like bulging muscles. I was like perfect in my mind. Perfect. But I knew, like, I was scared because I knew the day after the competition, it was all like a fat suit going to explode back to my reality. I knew it. And so I couldn't even enjoy where I was because I'm like, this is so temporary. It's so temporary. My identity is I am fat. So when I had that realization, I thought, well, then how do I help people change their identity? And your identity is consistent with those words that you put after I am. And if you are, and we can use our words not to just describe ourselves, but we can use our words to actually become and to change ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to create, and studying the power of language and The Secret was a big deal. And all of these books about how our thoughts create our reality. And, there wasn't Instagram at the time, but they're all the books that I was reading and that were being very popular. The Wayne Dyer, Manifest Your Destiny, Louise Hay, with The Power of the Affirmations, and book after book after book was saying that our language determines our reality. And Tony Robbins taught that your state, you don't succeed dependent on your capacity. It's your state that determines your capacity, your state of mind. And so I wanted to create a workout where we could learn to self-generate positive states and use language to affirm the identity, that part of us that's already in there, but that we could affirm it and summons it so that the identity that we want to relate to more, we can summons it forth. So I created a workout which combines affirmations or power virtues, right? We speak virtues into existence. I am strong. I am powerful. I am accepting. I am courageous. I am lovable. I am every word you can possibly think of that we might want to summons from within ourselves. But affirmations don't work when they're not embodied, when there's no emotional tie to it. So to just say, I am thin, 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 and look at your watch and say, oh my God, okay, that's 10 minutes. I met my quota. I'm done. if it doesn't activate a feeling, it hasn't impressed upon your subconscious mind. It hasn't reprogrammed you. It hasn't created that new neural pathway. So I wanted to create a practice that people could participate in, where they could literally practice summoning their badass self, right? They could summons their courage. They could summons their confidence and literally rewrite their identity. So we use statements of I am statements that help you remember a time, because we've all had times when we felt courageous. We've all had times when we felt enough. There are times that we have felt worthy, or we have felt beautiful or sexy, any of these things. We have those times. Maybe they've been not so few, not so many, but we can find that place within us where we have experienced it and we can summons it. And now it's not just this affirmation of us trying to be some future self, but it is thinking from the person that we want to be, not about the person we want to be. So it changes our identity.
I love that.
That's it.
That's
In a
so
nutshell.
in a nutshell. That's so powerful. I'm ready to work out just listening to you. That's so
Good.
beautiful. And when that in that moment when it came to you, or when you had that sort of epiphany in the shower, did you know right away this is the thing? Did you feel like jumping out of the shower to write it down, or did you just have that feeling of
I
this is
did
what I'm
have
going to
that.
create?
I knew it was one piece of it. I knew it
Mm-hmm.
was one piece. I didn't know yet it was it. There was another defining moment, because after I came out of the shower, I literally ran back, because it was an event, right? And we were there for a week. It was a week-long
Oh,
retreat in Fiji. And so we were all in this week long. That was just one of the, I ran back. My hair is wet. And I literally just like, blah, like said the whole thing. Everybody's eyes were wide open. They got it. They all got it. They're like, you teach the rest of the weekend. You teach like it was so right, and everybody felt
right.
it, but I thought, it's not done. This isn't it. So the next defining moment was truly like, I was at another retreat. I was in the Bahamas with Tony Robbins, and the Fiji retreat was a Tony Robbins week-long retreat as well, but Deepak was talking about blah, blah, blah. So I had joined Tony Robbins University, and you got to go to all these different workshops and seminars around the world. But this one was in the Bahamas, and we were marching. He was talking about states, right? States of being. And he says it's not determined by what you say or what you do, but how you feel, and that you can activate that. And if you activate the state, it will then propel you to take a different action. So I was listening to that. I'm like, yeah, like, there's something there. There's something there. I know this is it. The nugget
Mm-hmm.
is here. It's about activating the state. But I still didn't have the answer yet. I still was uncertain. Well, but what am I going to do with that information? I don't know. So we were walking on the beach, and we were all like marching and doing this one affirmation. All I have is within me now. All I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. All, like 100 of us marching down the beach. And that was the moment. That was the lightning strike. I can remember so vividly just stopping dead in my tracks, and like as if my whole being just like crumbled and my body vibrated, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's it. I'm going to create a workout with affirmations that's going to have people activate states, learn to generate these states. Exactly what he's talking about, exactly what he teaches, because he was saying, I do this every day, and this is the practice that's caused me to have the most success in my lifetime. This is my practice. This is the practice I did driving 45 minutes before I went to train anybody. This is the practice I still do before every single thing. And this is the practice. If you don't do it, change your state and use, he calls them incantations. If you don't use incantations, you're not doing my work. And if you leave here and you say that this work didn't work for you, it's because you didn't follow through do the incantations. But then I thought, but you're telling us to do the incantations. I'm creating the practice that will help people do what you're saying. Now I'm creating the practice that's going to take that which you're saying we all need to be doing to follow through and do the work that you're teaching us to do, but you haven't given us you've said go and do affirmations and walk. You've said go and do affirmations and breathe, but I'm going to create the practice.
I
The
love
work
that.
out. And I did. I was teaching at Equinox at the time, and I called my manager and I said, I have a new class. My classes were packed. that was not a problem. I knew if I brought something new, I could pack a class. I didn't know if I could keep them with this new idea, but I knew I could pack a class.
What were your classes like at that time? Was it basic fitness, aerobics kind of
Yeah, it was
classes?
like really intense, high impact
Mm-hmm.
kickboxing. I did a dance class. I did a weight training class. So all of those fundamentals. But what people loved about my class was that it was strong and it was inspiring, but it wasn't directly inspiring like this was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I have a new class and I want to put it on the schedule. Will you give me a slot? She says, yeah, what's the name of it? I said, I don't know yet. I said, but I want to start it in 1 month from now. It's because I knew if I did that,
If you
that
gave
I
yourself a
had no
deadline,
choice. Give
right?
myself a deadline. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what the format is. I only know that this is the answer. I know it. And I went to teach and I started to ask people to speak out loud. They rolled their eyes. They yawned. They didn't want to do it. They were embarrassed. And I was like, they wouldn't speak out loud. They wouldn't speak out loud. They wouldn't speak loud. Finally, I showed up to class one morning. And again, packed, because I knew if I gave them what they wanted, which was a kick-ass workout, that was it. I needed to do that. But they weren't doing the second piece. They weren't doing the piece that I felt mattered the most. And I said, listen, this is it. Here's the deal. There's hundreds of classes on this schedule, and I teach a lot of them. But this class is different. If you don't want to do this class, don't come back. The class here is designed in a way that I believe with my whole heart and being that will be the access to the very change that you want. I know this. And I shared about me having an eating disorder. I said I've had an eating disorder for 20 years. And this was the practice that caused me to heal. This very practice caused me to succeed in areas that I've never been able to succeed before. And if you want that kind of result, you can stay. But you can only stay if you participate in the class as it is created. If you don't want to participate, please leave now.
And what did they say? Was everyone in
Everybody
shock?
started clapping.
But I think it sounds like, too, so many things you said there, but your belief in it is what pushed it forward. Because at that point, you could have been like, okay, this isn't working. People aren't responding. Maybe you would have gone back and reworked it, or you may have given up. But you so passionately believed that this was the thing, and you were going to push to give it a full chance and have them give it a full try.
Yeah, but can I tell you, I was scared to death.
Yeah, well,
I was
that's
crying
courage, though,
before
right?
every class. I would cry. I'd be like, they don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't have to do it. I don't have to say it. They'll never know.
That's
They'll never know.
self-talk.
And I'll be like, God damn it. You go out there and you do it. And you do it. And I'd be like, I was scared because I knew they were like rolling their eyes. But that opportunity, when I turned around, I said, that's it. That's it. You cannot come to this class and do your own thing. You must do it as a design or don't come back. And if nobody shows up, I'll know I need to rework something. But you're coming. You like part of this. So until you actually try it, you don't know if you really like it. You try it. Today, everybody's trying it. And then if you don't like it, you never have to come back again. But how are you going to know? You've got to try it. It's like me giving you a mango or a piece of fruit you've never tasted and saying, this is the best fruit I've ever tasted. Please just taste it. And you saying, yes, I'll taste it. But you hold your nose while you're tasting it. How will you know if you like it?
Right.
You don't know. So that's all I ask. If you're staying, you do the class as it's designed. And you can leave at any time. You could leave in the middle. You could leave anytime you want. But don't stay in the class and not do the class.
So what was it like when they first tried it or did it or surrendered?
Yeah, they cried. They cried. People came up to me with tears. They're like, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know why I'm crying. I said, you're crying because you're feeling relief from the criticism, from the judgment that we're constantly pouring on ourselves. Sometimes the affirmation is not even strong enough yet to get you to actually feel the courage or confidence or the emotion, but it's enough to put a gate up so that you're no longer saying what you used to say. And that what you feel right now is probably relief from the old way that you've been talking to yourself.
And I think, as you said too, it was putting whatever those affirmations are in action or with an action. So it's not just saying for 10 minutes or however many times, 100 times, I am beautiful, or I am strong, but really putting some power behind it, because movement makes us feel like that.
Yeah. And also, I would say, I am strong now. And we would do a punching movement and we would be calling it up. But what was different was that, an affirmation, you're thinking of your future self, but in IntenSati, you're literally getting an experience of your strength. You're experiencing it while you're saying it, because that conversation gets you actually to do more than what you could possibly do when you're complaining. We've all been there. We've been in a workout where we're like, this sucks. This sucks. This teacher sucks. This workout sucks. Let me just get through it. And you barely burn a sweat because you're so busy complaining.
Right.
But when you're activated, right? When you're activated, when you're engaged, when you're going, one of the mantras I use all the way is, I will find a way. 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 And I'm determined to succeed. I have everything that I need. When you're saying that, your brain, there's this thing called in your brain, the reticular activating system. So the reticular activating system is what decides what you pay attention to. So there's millions of bits of information going on all the time. But your intention, your wanting to find something, your expectation will have your eyes see what's most important to you. So when you're saying, I am strong, then your brain says, I have to find evidence of that. And your brain will find evidence of that. If you're saying, I am weak, I don't know what I'm doing, this sucks, then it's easy to find evidence of that. That's like the easy way to go.
Right. The negative is always available, as Tony Robbins says, but so are the good things. And you decide what you pull in.
Yeah, and it's based on this part of our brain that is deleting all of these, deleting and distorting information at all times. It's like when someone's pregnant, all you see are pregnant women. When you buy a new car, you want to buy a new car, all you see is that car. Right? Because your brain has been activated to just like hone in on the thing that's important to you at that time. And it's the same.
One of the affirmations or movements that I love that you have is when you're pulling in the positive. I can't remember what the phrase is that you say with it, but it's like you're pulling in to you the thing that you really want.
Yeah, there's a move where it's literally like you're grabbing. You reach and grab. What do you want? Pull more love, pull more joy, pull more abundance. What do you want? Pull it in. And it's a fantastic exercise because it gets you excited and helps you really realize you have to participate in pulling to you what it is you want more of in your life, instead of just complaining about what is and like blah, blah, blah,
or
blah.
just sitting back and waiting for it to magically happen.
Yeah, like decide what you want more of. Decide what's important to you. What do you want more of today? Is it energy? Is it compassion? Is it to be kind? What is it? Pull it in and activate it within yourself.
And I think your story is such an example of that. And when you were looking for what kind of program you wanted to create, because you didn't know exactly what it was, you didn't have the answer, like you said, but you knew you were setting out to get it and pulling that toward you. So it comes in the shower, it comes in a walk on the beach. You never know. I always tell people, let go of the how. You wouldn't be able to say, I'm going to figure this out when I'm walking on the beach with 100 people saying, you'd never be able to script that, but you were pulling it into you.
No, but here's the cool thing is, once I made that decision, it's like, this is my favorite part about creating and about finding solutions. Once you decide that I want to find, you don't even have to know what the solution is.
Right.
I want to find a solution. I want to create something new. I know that there's something out there that I could create that's missing. And you keep that excitement. I remember I was walking at the gym and I start talking to a guy and I'm like, what are you up to? He's like, I'm training to be a life coach. I'm like, what's that? Mm-hmm. And he's like, it's a guy that helps people. I'm like, that's interesting. I would like to do that. And then I go home and I'm eating lunch and I turn on the TV and Tony Robbins is on TV selling his thing. I'm like, life coach, interesting. Maybe there's something here. I buy all of his CDs. I listen and I'm like, oh my God, there's something here. There's something here. There's something here. So the thing is, it's like the feeling you get when you get an answer, the feeling in your body when you get inspired, when you get an idea, but you can't get the idea until you've set the intention or you've asked the question. When you ask the question, what is it that I can bring forth that nobody else is talking about in this area? What is it that's not helping me achieve this lasting change that I so want? I'm smart. I'm a good person. Like,
Right.
I know what I'm doing. Like, I can follow through on things. What's missing? And then just living the questions, literally living the question, but the right question, not why am I such an asshole or how come I can never follow through on things? What could I do? What could I do today to be even more sure of myself? What is it that I could find that is going to help me and others achieve lasting positive change? That was the question I lived. What is it? What is it? What's that piece that I could bring forth so that when you see an answer, you feel the answer, right? It's an entire, and I remember this one day, it was so cool. I'm walking down the street, leaving the gym, and I'm living this question, right? It's just in my reality. I'm just contemplating. I'm curious. I'm wondering. And I was reading a lot of Wayne Dyer's books. Do you know who Wayne Dyer is?
I don't know Wayne Dyer.
Okay, you got to put him
I'm
on.
definitely, and I'm going to link to all the books that you've mentioned here so people can buy them.
Oh my God, so many, so many. Oh my God, so many. So I'm reading Wayne Dyer's book, Manifest Your Destiny, or one of his many. And he talks about a meditation he does that his guru gave to him. And I thought, I want to meet Wayne Dyer's guru. You know, there's going to the teacher, but then you go to the teacher's teacher.
Right.
You got the goods, right? Yeah, I want to go to the teacher's teacher. Like, I think he's all that. Let's see who's all that Wayne Dyer thinks is all that.
Right.
Right. So I'm walking down the street. I don't know. I just had thought of it while reading his book, and I'm leaving the gym, and I see literally on the wall a piece of paper, like an 8x10 piece of paper, lined piece of paper, and at the top, in writing, handwriting, someone writes, "Meet Wayne Dyer's guru." And there is like tear sheets with the number to call and the address. And it's literally happening in 5 minutes. And it's about a 10-minute walk from where I'm at. And I'm
You
like,
called that in.
oh my God. And thank God, like, I don't know where I was on my way to. I was on the way to the train. I run to this church. He's at this church down the street. I'm like, can't believe it. I can't believe it. This is my moment. I can't believe it. I run to the church. Everybody's sitting in the church quiet. I don't even know what they're doing. They're meditating. But I was like, what is going on? And there's this guy sitting at the front on the floor in a lotus pose. He's just sitting there, and I'm like tippy-toeing in, trying to find my spot, waiting to hear this magical story. I don't know what. And I sit down, and it seems like he's waiting for me because the place is full. And as soon as I sit down and get settled, he opens his eyes, and he says, "You are what you think you are." And I just start bawling, like hysterical, like, I didn't hear one other word. That was it. That's all I needed to hear, because I was learning that, right? And all of the pieces, this was before, I don't know where it was in the range of, like, it was before Tony Robbins or what, but I was questioning, right? You get these answers, but you're still questioning. Is that really it? Is this really a good idea? Is this stupid? Are people going to do this? You know, it's not always just like, yeah, this is it. I got it.
Right.
I had these moments, but then I'm like, damn, I got to put the pedal to the metal. I got to actually now
The
create
resistance comes there.
the resistance and the question, and like, me, is it really? Like, all of these. So when he said that, there was something that it affirmed in me, like, you're on the right track. This is it. That's all I needed. It wasn't what he said as much as the feeling and the message that I got
in the moment.
In the moment of this, like, it was an answer to the question, right? Am I on the right track? The question was, am I on the right track? Just tell me, am I on the right track? I need to know, is this the thing that I've been looking for? Am I on the right track? And when he said that, I swear, there was nothing else that I remember from that moment. But like, to find the paper and it's happening right there, and I run down the street and I open, and he says, and I studied with that guru for a while.
What's his name? Do you remember?
Oh, he's changed his name so many times. He changed, uh, it'll come to me. I have to think about it.
Okay.
Um,
But it's interesting too in that moment, as you mentioned, when you saw the paper, that's also for people to just be aware of is still taking the action. It was 10 minutes away. What if you said, oh, it's starting in a few minutes. I might not make it. I might not, you went into action. You took that, as Tony Robbins says, that massive action in that moment and you went there. Sometimes we even get the inspired moment, but we don't take the inspired action.
Yeah, and it's, I have to say my biggest lesson, and I've used this technique many times in so many other areas of my life, is when you prime yourself, I'm going to look for the guru. When you prime yourself, um, when you prime yourself, when you ask those questions, when you just fill your heart with the passion and you stay in that state, you get the answers, you get the information. And the more that you continue to do that, you're literally compelled, right? It's not even a question. If you want it so much and you're like, that, I'll find a way. This is a must for me. And you stick to your musts. Like, don't go for your maybes. Don't go for those things that you're not willing to go all the way for. Like, find those things that you want to immerse yourself in, that's a must for you. That's why so many teachers say you have to make it a must. If I can, I will. No, if I can, I must, and if I must, I will. If I can, I must, and if I must, I will. But if you leave it kind of out there somewhere in the future, it's not going to have the power to pull you, to force you to take those actions. But when you're living it and when you're stoking that fire and you're longing, a lot of people don't want to long for things because they're afraid, what if they don't get it? It's the longing, it's the passion, it's the like getting thirsty and hungry for the answer, for the way, for that success, for that health, for that vitality. Like, let yourself be hungry for it. Be so hungry that everything in your brain is only pointing out your next best step. And you literally will be forced to take that action. Forced. It's not even going to be a question. And that's really what Tony talks about, what you're talking about. Like, get yourself in that state and then take massive action. But you don't have to force the massive action, which is the thing. You just have to be so lit up, like that mantra. That's one of my favorites. I'll find a way. I will find a
I will
way. I will
find a
find a
way.
way. I will find a way. I will not take try out of your vocabulary. Like, never ever say try. Try. It's never going to happen if you say try.
I love that. So now, is this an example of how you help people find their thinner piece? One of the things that you talk about, quote unquote, thinner piece, is going through this and having this idea that you will find a way, that you will get healthy, and all of those things. How do we find our thinner piece?
Thinner peace is really about taking action that's in alignment with your values and not just your goals, right? So what I was doing the first part of my life is trying to get a goal. And I was like, thin at any cost. I'll do a line of cocaine so I don't eat at that thing. I will purge because, so they're not values. They're result oriented actions, but they aren't having me live in integrity, right? I'm not proud of those actions. They're not actions I'm going to post on my blog and say, hey, follow me, right? So we can do this. So thinner peace is about understanding that when you're living in according with your values, you value health, you value feeling good in your skin, you value feeling capable and strong, you value living a long life to be around, to see your grandchildren, whatever those things are. When you live according to your values, it's not so result oriented, it's process oriented. So today you get to win because today you ate in a way that you're proud of. You moved in a way that you were proud of. So even though you may not have gotten to your goal weight and you don't feel like super sexy in your skin yet, you feel proud of the choices that you've made because they were conscious and they were in alignment with who you want to be, not just how you want to look. How you want to look will be a natural result of you living in alignment with your values. And it's about building yourself up not reducing yourself. It's not just like counting calories and trying to deprive myself. It's really about saying what matters to you and what habits can you put in place that will make living that value easy. So you use willpower for a short amount of time. You don't like use willpower for your entire life, right? For every single, you use willpower to install the habit. You don't use willpower to make yourself like eat fewer calories and not eat this or not eat that, but you use the willpower to install the new habits.
So what do you use to not eat this and not eat that if you don't use your willpower in those moments?
Well, you're using it to not eat this or that, but you're using it for a different purpose.
Got it.
So for instance, right now, one of the nutritional things that I'm upgrading in my own life is not eating sugar, right? So I've gotten older. I have 3 kids. I don't want to work out as hard or as long as I used to. It's not a priority in my life, but feeling good is, and feeling a certain way is. So I do work out, right? I still work out every day. But I was finding like I was eating too much sugary things and just like getting messy with my food. And I thought the biggest habit that I could undertake, so for me to achieve my goal, is to eliminate sugar. And if I eliminate sugar, that's one habit that if I can get myself to be consistent with, will get me the result that I want long term. And so that's a habit that I'm willing to produce. Now, in order for me not to go reach for the chocolate after my meal, which is what I normally do, or when my kids are, where there's like candy or birthday cake or whatever, in order for me not to grab that, I have to remember that I am in this period of time in the process of installing a habit. So I have to use willpower and consciousness that I don't just mindlessly, how many times do you mindlessly grab something and at the end of the day, like, why did I do that?
Why did I eat that? It's just habit.
Why did I do that? I didn't even think about it. I didn't even stop. So yeah, we got to have that self-discipline and we have to have that self-control and that willpower, but we want to do it from that viewpoint where it's short term, it's going to get easier, and it's a habit for lifestyle that I want to create, instead of just like, oh, here's the biggest piece. This is a very important piece. If I am trying to deprive myself of a food or stop eating sugar or so much processed food just to get the weight loss, right? I'm going to get the weight loss. I want to get thin for my wedding. Then I have to force myself to stick to that, right? I have to force myself to not eat those things I love to eat. The difference is I'm not changing. I am willing to change. I'm willing to become the person that does not eat sugar. I'm willing to become that person versus I am trying to force myself, as I am, who loves sugar, who wants to eat all the sugar I want to eat, to not eat it. Does that make sense?
It does. It's a mind shift around who you are or who you want to be.
Right. So it goes back to your values, right? So it goes back to, I'm not forcing myself to just like slap my hand and use shame, or like this short-term process to just use willpower. And then of course, after the wedding, I'm going to explode back to my old self. I have to be conscious that instead of that, I'm not going to force myself. Going to allow myself. I'm going to become this person. I accept that I am willing to change. I'm willing to change my lifestyle. Yes, I have to put effort. Yes, I have to be conscious because I like to grab those things. But it's a willingness. It's an internal willingness to change versus a short-term holding my breath.
Right.
And forcing myself to do this action that I don't really want to do, right? You kind of have to want to do it instead of forcing yourself to, I can't wait till this weekend when I get to binge and eat all the cake I want because the wedding's going to be over.
And that's the thing too, is a lot of times we make it about an event or about a certain moment or something like that. Whereas you're talking about really making it about yourself, first of all, and wanting to change yourself and then, or better yourself, and then making it part of your life as opposed to part of the event that weekend. Because like you said, once it's over, you don't want the change anymore. You don't have a reason to want it anymore, and you let it go. Or you exhale and go,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the biggest problem is nobody really wants to change. I saw this great Instagram thing where it says, "Who wants a change? Who wants a change in their lives?" And you see everybody raise their hand. And it says, "Who's willing to change?" And nobody
Nobody.
raises
Yeah.
their hand.
Exactly.
So that's the deal. And that's why I call badass training, right? You got to be a badass for your goals. You got to get gangsta on your goals,
Right. Get gangsta on your
right?
goals. And you
And
also talk about being a spiritual badass too. What is
spiritual
that?
badass is really what I talk about because spiritual badass is about being a badass of those parts of you that are invisible, right? Those parts of you that are unseen, the unseen parts, the thoughts, the emotions, the mindset, the attitude, all of those parts of us. The spiritual is where the roots of the physical is. Everything in the seen world has its roots in the unseen. So a spiritual badass is about going to the roots, is about making the change at the base of your person, right? And starting from those parts of you that are unseen so that then it will blossom into the parts of you that are seen versus what other people do, which is let me just work out or let me try to get that thing so that I'll feel better. And I'm saying, no, you have to make yourself feel better so that you naturally do the actions that you're proud of versus the other way around. So spiritual badass is taking on that challenge of changing yourself, your identity, your beliefs, your habits, your attitude, the language that you use. And it's about becoming that person who lives in alignment with their values.
One of the things I love about you too, so many, but one of the things I love too on your Facebook Live I was watching recently, and you give people also, I guess they would be called hacks or techniques of how to, because we all can talk about the things that we can do to make that change or embody that change that we want to make. But sometimes in that moment, it's like, I just need something to stop me from grabbing that cake. So one of the things you did recently, you showed how to sort of use your hands or put something in your hand and toss it back and forth to be able
Yeah.
to trigger something in your mind to sort of distract you from wanting to grab whatever that is.
Oh, it's called a bilateral
Yes,
stimulation. So
bilateral
bilateral
stimulation.
stimulation is really simple. Like, you can take an apple or a bottle of water and you put it in the center of your body and you keep one hand at the center of your body, but you toss it to the opposite hand and open your hand out to the side. I don't know if that's explainable, but you just toss a ball or an apple or a bottle of water. When you get a craving or when you're stressed, you just pick something up and you toss it from hand to hand and you open the hand up. What happens is that usually stress or cravings, often cravings are a result of stress, that stress resides in one part of the brain. So when you stimulate both hemispheres of the brain, it will interrupt that pattern of stress. And once you interrupt that pattern of stress, it's like putting water on the fire, right? But the thing about bilateral stimulation or any of the techniques that I give people is some of us feel the craving and then we just go feed the craving, right? Or we just like have the impulse and we just go follow the impulse. The thing about bilateral stimulation or like I said, any of these tools is about taking that moment where you're saying, I feel the craving. It's here. I have power over this craving. I'm not going to let it impulse me. Whether it's like yell at my kids or eat that piece of cake, I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to interrupt this pattern. I'm going to interrupt this craving. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to do what I know how to do. But a lot of us use that idea that, oh, I've just had a craving. I had to go eat that as an excuse not to put that muscle behind rewiring ourselves and reprogramming ourselves. The privilege of being human is being able to rewire those connections in our brains, those patterns and those habits, like not be a slave to the habits, not be a slave to the cravings. I don't have to not eat sugar for the rest of my life, but I don't want to be a slave to those cravings. I want to make the decision that I want to make that's appropriate for the result that I want to have. I don't want to be forced because I've been eating sugar all this time and I don't have the strength to stop doing what's harming me, what's keeping me from achieving my goals. I want to be able to decide I want to do something and follow through. So tools like the bilateral stimulation are great tools to have because if you're serious about finding a way, you can find a way. And that's a great, simple one that works.
Right, that's wonderful. And then I'm going to put links to everything, but will we be able to find things like that on your website or on the IntenSati website?
Right now, you can find it on as I do the Facebook Live things, but I'm
Right.
creating the badass training. So that will be
Nice.
Badassery Training 101.
Uh-huh.
And it'll focus on body first because I think that's the access to everything, right? Upgrading the nutritional habits, upgrading the mental habits that do that. And it gives you the skills for achieving any goal. So I'm going to be launching that soon.
Okay.
The website, we're redoing the website, rebranding the website. So there'll be streaming workouts that you can do. A lot of new products coming up. But in
Awesome.
the meantime, they can go to satilife.com and there is the workout called Willpower, and people can download that workout.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's $5 or something, and it's a great way to just kind of get introduced to the practice. It's a good, strong cardio practice. That's probably the best place to start. Or order the book online, Thinner Peace.
Nice. Now, I have just a few more questions for you. So, women entrepreneurs, a lot of the things we talk about is how busy we are and, trying to fit workout into the schedule, especially if you have kids and some other things. But also with your workouts and the information you provide, there are ways that people can do things either in a shorter period of time or just talk about ways that we can make time to really take care of ourselves.
I think that I'm a big fan of very, very small steps, super small, consistent steps. The smaller, the better. And I just say, just have it just be out of your reach and don't focus on the result. Focus on the habit that you're creating. Like a lot of people that I train in weight loss and one-on-one, they're like, but shouldn't I be working out more? And I'm like, let's just get the habit. Can we just get the habit of getting up every morning early enough, getting your butt to the gym and just walk on the treadmill? It doesn't have to be this big old thing. Like a tiny step. Get yourself in the practice of getting up. Get yourself in the practice of getting there. Don't scare yourself to death. Like it's got to be the workout, a monster workout.
Mm-hmm.
Just slow, baby steps. Don't redo your entire diet. Don't give up everything and go down to 500 calories. Do one thing. Pick the biggest thing that, like for me, was sugar. Late night snacking, skipping breakfast, drinking enough water. Like pick one thing that you're just going to get in that's going to be a major habit that's going to influence a lot of other areas. So tiny, tiny steps. Don't go to extremes. Go the middle of the road.
The extreme is where a lot of us go, right? Especially at the start of the year or when
Yeah.
summer is coming and we say, I'm going to do, as you said, this long list of things that people say they're going to either cut or start doing. Then you don't do it. Then you feel like a failure. And then you go back into this sad cycle.
Yeah, yeah, it's not the way to go. Because if the pendulum swings one way, it's going to
Swing
swing the
back.
other way.
Right. That's right. What would you say the greatest lesson having a business has taught you about yourself as a woman?
Um, that really what motivates me is giving, is making a difference for other people. And when I got connected to that, when I first started teaching, uh, I was teaching for applause, I say. I was teaching for
Mm,
applause. I wanted to have packed classes because it proved to me that I was lovable or that people wanted what I had, right? So there was a kind of an arrogance and an ego to it. And I loved to help people, but it was more for me for the applause. But when I had that defining moment, I say that's the point that I shifted to working for a cause. And it was the shift to turning it into a cause and really caring. I mean,
mm,
before I was kind of caring, but I was caring for my own ego.
mm-hmm.
But when I started to realize, like, there's a lot of people that need this information. And I started to work for a cause. I found the energy, I found the desire, I found the way to like make things happen. And I think that's a characteristic as a woman, being a mother, that we become our best selves when we step into that place that we do matter. Like we make a difference and we make a difference in other people's lives. But then to back up and say, this was the other biggest part of that lesson. It was like the other side of the coin is if I'm not taking care of myself, if my body is not, if I don't feel good in my body, I cannot help other people
Right.
find the way to feel good in their body. So in order for me to serve, in order for me to give, in order for me to make that biggest difference, I have to be the change I want to see. I must first be that evidence. I have to walk the walk. I have to talk the talk. I can't sell something that I don't have. And that's like my biggest line for people. Like, you can't sell what you don't own. You might know about it, but you got to own it. So you speak from a different level of conviction. When you speak from conviction, people hear you in a way that it causes them to change just by the sound of your voice. Just the sound of your voice will cause people to make changes. But if you don't own it, you can't sell it.
I love that. I'm going to write that. I might have to put that up on my wall. If you don't own it, you can't sell it. So what does your support network look like? You're so giving. You help so many women, or so many people. It's not a class just for women. Inspire so many people. What does your support network look like?
I have, like, my wife's a huge support. I have a lot of people in my life that they love this practice so much and get so much out of it that they're always constantly, how can I help you? Like, students from class, a lot of students from class who are always willing to, like, how can I help? So I have that level of, and then it's me, like, actually asking for it, which is not always easy.
Right.
Right. But what I've started to do is to define who are those key people, the people that have that high level of information that can really help me and can help mentor me, and then be consistent about reaching out for help, because I've never been one to do that. I've never liked to ask for help. But what I've realized is that if I don't ask for help, I don't succeed. And I've got to succeed. This is a must for me to succeed. And if people offer, I'm willing to believe they mean it. And so, like tonight, I'm meeting with 3 friends who are people who are students of mine who want me to succeed. And they said, you know what? We're going to have a dinner. We're having a marketing session. We're going to brainstorm. There's someone who's in finance, there's someone who's a CEO of a business, and there's someone who's a CEO of marketing. And I was like, yes. Let's do it. I need it now. Let's do it. And it's been invigorating, even just like becoming someone who can ask. And on the other side, people ask me for help all the time, and I always give it. I always answer that phone call as often as I can. But I'm like, I give help. I help. It's okay. I can ask for it.
Exactly. I mean, that's what this show is all about, asking for support and being able to accept it. Like you said, if people offer it with good intention, it feels genuine, it's okay. And it's better if you say yes. Take the meeting, have the conversation, see what's there, so often, I know one of the things I always say, I got it, it's okay, I got it, as opposed to, yes, I will have a conversation. You never know what can open up for you in those situations when you're being open to support.
Yeah, I just went to Summit Series. Do you know Summit Series?
Yes.
So I was invited to teach at Summit Series and to be part of the panel there. And there was a moment, I taught IntenSati. I took one of my premier leaders, Natalia Petrozelli, who's also a historian, and we were talking about empowerment. And we taught the class, and when we were doing the talk, and in the middle of the talk, somebody stood up and said, there are 70 of us here, and we all want to help you. Tell us what you need. We believe in you. We believe in this. We want you to succeed. I started crying. Like, I was so, like, almost embarrassed. I was like crying, like the amount of intensity. And then I had to come home and I had to be like, call that one, call that one.
That's right.
And some people didn't answer my phone calls. And one woman at the end of that meeting, at the end of that weekend, she was on me like sugar. And she was just like, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, everybody here wants to help you and everybody here means it. But you're going to call and they're not going to answer your phone. You're going to email and they're not going to answer your email. Do not take it personally. You go back, you email again, you call again, because if you're not persistent, they're going to think you don't mean it. And if they don't answer, do not take no for an answer. You've got to have tough skin. You got to remember this moment, and you've got to go back and get what you need and ask for it. I was like, yeah.
Yes, that is so powerful, because even when people offer us support, we reach out, they don't respond. We think, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to make them say, no, I can't right now. No, I can't. And even then, it's not something personal. You never know what's going on in someone's life at the time that you reach out.
Yeah. And if they said it, they meant it.
Right.
That's what I'm going to assume.
Right.
Right. If they said it, and I know me, I'm busy. There's like floods of emails.
Right.
There's floods.
And sometimes
like,
you need to get back.
I miss them. And
Yeah.
you don't.
Right.
There's a lot of emails that I never get back to. It's just not physically possible.
Right.
It's just not. And I know these women are busy. These are top level women in their game. So I'm just kind of waiting for the certain ones that I need to particularly ask, and
Right.
then I'll be going hard.
I love it. So what's next for you? What are you most excited about today? I know you just mentioned that you're creating a course, and what other kinds of things are going on for you?
I just rewrote my leader training, so if people want to teach IntenSati. I'm super excited about this new format that I'm introducing. So we'll be rolling that out in the fall.
Okay.
That's always a highlight of my path because I just want more people teaching this class. And I'm working on some audio products so
Mm.
that you can take me in your ear when you are walking,
Oh, I love that.
running, jogging, driving. The thing that people ask me for the most after I do any kind of a training or a class is they're like, I want to have you in my ear all the time. I want to take you with
With
me
me, yes.
all the time. And so I'm listening and I want to create that product that's just like, you can have me in your ear all the
I
time.
love that. That's one of the powerful things about podcasts too, is being in someone's ear. There's some sort of connection with the brain of having it in your ear, a different kind of connection than reading it or watching it or that kind of thing. So I was thinking the same thing. I would want to take you with me everywhere.
Oh, that's awesome.
So one last question. Thank you so much for your time today. I want to ask you, if you think over your life and career and you had a chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
What would I say to that person?
Yes.
Um, who would it be? I really have to say my dad. I have to say my dad because it was long term and it was a consistent mantra in my ear of like, you can do anything. He would say, you're a Moreno, you could do anything. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like a whole other level. But I think it was that. I think it was my dad because I've had people professionally and I've had a lot of teachers. And then I would say my second one is kind of like an extension of that. My dad is not living anymore. But I found a teacher, Dr. Joseph Michael Levry, the founder of Nam Yoga, who I went to go see for a private session one day. And he that day became my mentor. And he's been a huge, huge mentor for me. And he is one that teaches me a lot about divine spiritual wisdom and has given me a lot of knowledge and a lot of practices that, he sat with me for hours and hours and I just like took dictation of the mantras and the breath work and the meditations that heals people's hearts. And he's always, every time I see him, like, he's like, it's happening, it's happening. I'm going to help you. I've got your back and we're going to do this. And so I think he's this person that right now is like my strongest supporter and
Mm-hmm.
mentor and just like strengthener.
I love it. So, what's a way that we can support you? I know about some of the programs, but it's very important for me to be able to tell the audience ways that we can support our guests. So, we're going to have the website, links to all the books
That's
that you
so great.
mentioned. Yeah, of course. What can we do to support you?
I think really just if you find something that you like of mine, if you hear something that, one of the Facebook Live, I've been doing daily Facebook Lives, trying to keep them to like 5 minutes. If you see a post, if you see a tweet, like tell people about me.
Is the Facebook Live
Retweet.
at a certain time every day or different times during the day?
It's different times every day. I haven't gotten to that point yet
Okay,
where I've
we'll
been able
get
to be
there.
consistent, but
Yeah,
my goal is every day, 5 days a week, not on the weekends.
nice.
So I'm trying to develop that muscle of consistency, right? So if you see something, you can talk about me, you can tell someone about me, you can repost, you can retweet, you can share. That's like major because if someone hears about me from a friend, they listen very differently. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, I'm just trying to get more exposure to more people so that I can do more things.
I love it. I love everything that you're doing. I really appreciate you. I love this program. I will be telling as many people as I know. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's fantastic. I took a class recently with Lucy actually was it in Soho? It was a couple of weeks ago. I
At
missed you.
Athleta?
You were there. Yes. You were
Oh, did you
there.
come the kickoff day?
I think so. The kickoff day, but I
Oh, I
missed you.
had left.
You had left, so I was excited to meet you later now, which I'm glad we were able to do. But I just think it's so powerful, the combination of the movement and what the movements are and pulling into yourself these affirmations in a different way. So thank you for
Thank
everything
you.
that you do and for being here today. And before you go, what's a parting piece of advice for our listeners from you?
Do it now.
Do it
Do
now.
it now. Just do it now. Like we all like want to wait for the right time and we all, nobody knows that we're going to be here tomorrow. Not one of us do. We don't know. We pray, we hope, we think it's not on our mind, but there's not one of us that knows for sure. So if it's important, do it now and don't wait.
I love it. Patricia, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Hold on one second. All right. Thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Support is Sexy podcast. And I do hope that you got some inspiration from it. And the challenge is for you to do at least one thing. Take one thing from the episode, at least one thing. You can always do more, but at least one thing that will help you move one step closer to your dream. Whether that's launching a business, writing a book, whatever that thing is that you want to do, take something from this episode and move one step closer. And what I'll also ask of you, if you can tell me what you think about the episodes, what we've been doing, what you want to hear, what you like, what you experience while you're listening, go over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let me know what's going on. What are you thinking? What are you feeling about the show? What else can I do to be of service to you, which is what this is all about, to be of support to you. That's our buzzword, right? You can also go to my website, elaynefluker.com/podcast. So that's ELAYNEFLUKER.com/podcast. Hear more episodes there. Also have a bunch of great videos, tons of information. It's where I'm going to be spending a lot of time, and it's where I love to connect with you. So again, thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate you and your support. And the most important thing I want you to remember is having it all does not mean doing it all alone. So now, go out there and create something sexy, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.